Well, hello, Dave Sabre. Welcome to the Historic Dunlap Farm on Indian Creek in beautiful Monroe County at Red Sulphur Springs. What a beautiful September day we have here. And maybe we can take a tour on this thing and get a little bit of information for the public as this property is coming to the market here, and so much history evolves from this property that want to get folks acclimated a little bit with me. With the property to my right, where the camera is angling right now, is the historic cemetery. We'll have much more to say about that in just a little bit. Let's take a walking tour through the historic Dunlap manse here at the farm here in Red Sulphur Springs on Indian Creek.
You think this was built in what year, maybe?
Dave, I think the construction, considering the records that I've been able to find now, is probably 1830, 1840, somewhere in that era. And probably all local Monroe County craftsmen here from the Red Sulphur Valley. I suspect that the red brick were baked here somewhere either on the farm or very nearby.
Wow. This is incredible. I had no idea that this relic even existed. It's funny, what you don't know is in your backyard.
Yes.
Wow.
And this has been owned by the same family somewhere since about 1968, and it's kind of been a retreat type property for them. This is one of the few homes that you're ever going to find that basically, when we step inside, Dave, is like stepping back to the 1800s. It does have electricity inside, which they'll see that, but basically a lot of the original features are still right here.
I mean, what amazes me, the detail in this. It's not ornate like the Victorian period.
Mm-hmm.
But it still is. I mean, what craftsmanship went into making every little corner and cabinet on that, and it's still rock solid.
Yes. Yes.
And it just amazes me. This would have been local cabinet makers who were used to doing this kind of work.
Yes. Yeah. And we still have the wavy, bubbly glass panes here that are very much the original. And the Dunlap family, from records I've been able to locate, are very prominent in Monroe County, obviously, but they came from the Valley of Virginia over to about Rock Bridge in the late 1700s. Matter of fact, members of the family were Revolutionary War soldiers. And then the first record that we have of Dunlap in this valley is about 1798. And so that would have been 1 year before Monroe County becomes in full formation. And so this would have very likely been part of Greenbrier County at that time, and earlier than that, probably Montgomery County, Virginia. So this was an old Virginia farm.
What do you call as a pencil?
I call that a pencil newel post with a bamboo formation of a top rail with your finial here. And this has the original grain painting on it from back in the day. Now the paint has been added later, but it's been there for a long time. And this staircase is as solid basically as the day that it was put in here.
It's amazing.
If we take a step through that doorway, Dave, this is going to be the living room downstairs.
Oh my gosh.
You have your 6/9 window configuration with the raised panels. You have the fluted columns, chair rail around it, your faux painted fireplace mantel, which this would have been very much a working Monroe County farm. Eloquent farmhouse, but basically very simple. And then we have the wonderful wide heart pine flooring here, which is extremely durable. And this would just be incredible. Yeah.
So solid. Everything about this house is just so tight.
Yeah. Yeah. And lots of natural light, which was designed for that feature because, you know, they didn't have the electric that we have now. And so oil lamps and things of that nature were the illumination of that day outside of your natural light. But the natural lighting in here is very good.
Isn't that an amazing staircase? And
Beautiful.
Original to the house?
Yes, yes. This staircase, again, the construction of it is just exceptional. Nothing extraordinarily fancy, but very functional, and it's eloquent in its own way and fits the farmhouse very much to a T. Dave, one thing that I would point out before we pass by, here is the original box lock, which I'm not sure if they can see the detail, but the original brass manufacturer's tag, Sidney Smith manufacturer, is still on there. And so that's an amazing part of history right there. These would have probably been purchased either in Union or Lewisburg, perhaps Blacksburg, Virginia area of that time. But these were quite a feature to have, and the original brass and all the cast iron right there.
My gosh. Would this be the dining room?
This is what I consider the dining room, absolutely. Look at the tall ceilings that we have in here. The built-in cabinetry, which is very much period for the era. These were original, and they're amazing. They had the chamfered panels inside the doors, just absolutely gorgeous. And these are poplar and pine both, and very likely these would have been painted, probably faux painted, as we'll see. Some of the cupboards upstairs, wardrobes upstairs, are faux painted. So incredible piece of Monroe County history that a lot of folks do not realize is here, and we'll get into more of the mystery of that when we head out to the cemetery after a while.
Oh wow, this is, I guess, the winter kitchen.
This would have been the winter kitchen, in my opinion. We have the 3 lights over top of the door, which would have shown that this very well could have been the dining room. This would have been a winter kitchen. Have your huge wide plank flooring in here, the chair rail. Have a door that goes out to the side porch. And right out here, if we go out, is the running water of the property, which is the old cast iron well pump there that still stands, and we had water running through that just a few minutes ago. And so on the back of the home, Dave, I found a historic photo that showed the old timber frame summer kitchen when it was standing here, which was 2 stories, and quite an impressive structure. I think it's been gone quite a while, but you can still see the indentions here. And there's the log house or log storage building, maybe a smokehouse of the day. And we have, is that an eagle? Some kind of large bird just flew over. And we are on Indian Creek. And matter of fact, before we go back inside the house, let me just get a quick glimpse of this out here. I know our video is going to be a little bit long, but we've got a lot to try to squeeze in here. Oh, wow. And so we are right on the waters of beautiful Indian Creek. And matter of fact, where Indian Creek is here right now, this is the Indian Creek, this part of the upper part of it is actually part of the Bluestone Land Management Wildlife Area. So when the dam backs up the water down at Hinton, it can back up in this bottom down here. So we're, kind of a long way in one sense from Bluestone Dam, but we're still very close as a crow flies.
Well, it's nice to know that the property is protected in that way. The view shed is.
Yes, and wildlife is at its best. As you remember, on our way in this morning, we saw about a flock of 20 turkeys, wild turkeys out here. So abundance of wildlife, beautiful, beautiful countryside. The adjoining farmer here has been harvesting some hay and just great farmland. We have about 77 acres here all total.
Wow.
And
What a beautiful day.
yeah, more built-in cabinetry that's been recent years stripped of its old paint. Again, these cabinets are poplar and pine, just absolutely gorgeous. Has the old brass teardrop drop down original locks in them, and just tremendous old cabinets.
I love the scent of the wood.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, well, if you're ready, let's step upstairs before our video gets too long. But again, we've got just so much to try to cover here.
Oh, I could watch enough of this. Wow, this is something. This is incredible. What a space.
Did you have any knowledge of this property being in here?
No, I had none whatsoever. I mean, I figured that something might be around, but
This is our access to the attic here.
is this the inside of a spring, or of such a box? Is that what we're looking at? The mechanism?
Yeah, the mechanism, it's had a little catch there, and the bullet latch has been added later, but very functional. And just get you upstairs to check out the attic. And in this bedroom here, Dave, is the faux painted wardrobes that are built in.
Wow.
That retain the beautiful mahogany grain, and this was done with feathers that they would decorate this to imitate the very expensive and scarce mahogany wood of that era.
Amazing.
Beautiful raised panel doors, 2 over 2 over 2, and again the wonderful pine flooring that is just absolutely gorgeous. And here's the other bedroom upstairs. Obviously, our window configuration here is 6 over 6, original glasses in these windows, and again, it's just amazing how solid this house is. And you know, we're anxious to see somebody redevelop this property and put it back in to being functional every day.
I can't wait to show this off to more people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dave, probably we ought to conclude this part of the tour. You have anything to add?
No, I want to see the graveyard though.
Okay.
That's or the cemetery.
Yes. Yes.
So let's head on out.
Okay, we'll do a separate video on the cemetery, and this is about 13 minutes this part, so we don't want to get too awful long in segments, but we're good, right?
Yeah. Boy, this is something.
Wonder how long it's been since that's been opened.
Wow.
Well, Dave, here's one of the great mysteries of Monroe County, in my opinion, is a vital part of this property here. Obviously, we've just stepped a few steps from the manse into this area here, and in doing some research, a lot of Monroe County and the Red Sulphur Valley history is right here, and it's amazing. I have not found this cemetery on Find a Grave and some of the other websites online, including the West Virginia Archives. So maybe I can give you a little running tour of what I know seems to be happening here. The Red Sulphur Springs Mineral Resort came into existence in the early 1830s. And so at this time, the curative properties of the mineral waters was huge. And we have to think back at this time, you know, bloodletting and the few medicinal items that they had, and surgery was it. And we had various illnesses that would ravage through one area at a time, sometimes a larger area. And so the mineral springs of the old Virginias was seen as a curative medicine, and people would come here. This was the Johns Hopkins Hospital. This was the Mayo Clinic type situation of that era. And so we discount that, and in saying that, in doing some research upon the old mineral springs here at Red Sulphur, I found record that people would come to Dublin Station, Virginia, and then by stagecoach come in here, and then also from the north they would come to White Sulphur Springs, and then up through the valley by stagecoach here to Red Sulphur Springs. And this is Red Sulphur Springs was second only to the Old White at Greenbrier, being the main mineral spring of the Virginias of this area.
Now, Red Sulphur is what, half a mile in that?
About maybe a mile that way.
So this was the Red Sulphur, the resort community to some extent.
Yes, yes. And this is the Dunlap Farm. What I researched online was that, again, the Mayo Clinic of that day, when people would come in here to get cured, and there's testimonial of many getting health benefits, including the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, Justice Taney, and his wife came here in the 1830s, 40s, and he wrote afterwards of how much better that they had felt after being here. And so as people would come here, we find that people would die, pass away at the resort. Obviously some received health benefits, but others it was not enough and they would pass away. So when they would pass away, according to what little information we can find, they were kind of secretly buried here at this undisclosed cemetery, and I think that's why we don't find record of this on Find a Grave and other resources on the internet today, because of the nature of this. And I'll point out this tombstone here. This was in memory of Charles Lawton, who died at the Red Sulphur Springs on the 7th day of August, 1838, at 39 years age. He was a native of Saddleworth, England for 20 years, a highly respectable merchant of Charleston, South Carolina, and so one of the major hubs of the South. In all the relations of his life, his conduct was marked by commercial integrity, social honor, and universal charity. So he was thought very well of here, and this great monument mostly likely would have come from Charleston, South Carolina by horse and buggy, wagon, or Charleston, South Carolina, which we will see further reference.
So many of the wealthy people from the South would come up into the Red Sulphur Spring, the White Sulphur Spring, the Blue Sulphur Spring, and recuperate through the summer. But then there was this medicinal value to the springs that they would come here to heal.
Yes. Yes, and that medicinal value was from anything from arthritis to tuberculosis to all types of nerve disorders. The pamphlets that we found, are rather extensive. And again, this was, medicine was very limited back in those days. So, and we have the Chief Justice of the United States that says that he feels much better after spending a few weeks at Red Sulphur Springs. So,
there you go.
That's pretty high claim. Okay, over towards the house here, Dave, I want to show you one of the another fascinating aspect of this property. And this huge sculpture gravestone here, yes, I want to try to make sure I get a shot of all this. This is a monument to Julia M. Bachman. And the current owner of this property has information that Audubon actually named a bird after Julia Bachman. I haven't researched that further yet, but you can see this sculpture of this gravestone is Jacob Vincent from Richmond, Virginia. And this young lady died in 1847, I believe it is, 27 years old and 2 months, and a great inscription there about her. And Dave, we have several other very interesting graves here. This is a memorial to Joseph Whites Alliston, a citizen of South Carolina, resident in the district of Georgetown, later a member in the legislature and a major general in the militia of that state. He closed his short but useful career at the Red Sulphur Springs in the 13th of August, 1834, at 37 years age, and accolades of his life, so forth there. And so, again, this huge stone would have taken some getting in here. Another early stone here, George Dunbar Sweet. And where was he from? Was he from South Carolina or Georgia?
Savannah? Born in Savannah.
Born in Savannah, and he passed away here at the
Died
Springs.
here at the Springs.
What is that, July?
1833.
1833. Okay. So who would have been president then? Old Hickory? Andrew Jackson?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
So, Dave, over here, the current owner had asked me about these unmarked gravestones here, and there's a number of them here. And he asked me about what I thought of these, and I said, well, there's a couple thoughts that I have immediately. One, they could have been slaves. The question is, would they have been buried in a white cemetery with their families, or could these have been Yankee soldiers? Probably, in my opinion, less chance of Yankee soldiers being buried in a southern cemetery than maybe the slaves. And then, after doing research on the internet, I think these are folks that had come to Red Sulphur Springs, to the resort mineral spas, without the great stature of some of these other folks that we've looked at, and they passed away and were kind of secretly buried here without much fanfare. Hey Dave, look at the size of that cedar tree. Try to wrap around that with both hands if you would.
Sure.
That is absolutely huge. I don't know what the age of that would be.
My measuring tape. I didn't bring it to these.
Yeah, that is huge. So lots of things in play here. Dave, maybe before we run out of time here with our video, let's go to the south end of the property, which would be towards Indian Creek as we're walking. And this is the Dunbar end, which this was the old Dunbar farm.
Dunbar?
Dunlap, I'm sorry. Dunlap. Yes, I have trouble with that. Thank you, sir. Dunlap. And so here we have this monument of Alexander Dunlap. Alexander Dunlap, and I think it would have been the father to this Alexander, came to the valley in 1798, which would have been prior to the formation of Monroe County, which was 1799.
So he was the father of the home builder.
I believe that's the case. Now, I'm not conclusive on that, but he owned probably up to 1,000 acres here, and either this Alexander or either his father was a Revolutionary War soldier from Virginia. So again, this was Virginia, and so they just came further west and were pioneers of that day. So we've got a number of the Dunlap family here in this cemetery. We also, this finial type monument here is of a Humphreys. And so I'm not sure who all, what all families are buried here, but I believe truly it started as the Dunlap family cemetery. And one final grave, Dave, before we conclude this walking tour. This is an anomaly right here that's very unusual. Extremely early cast iron fence, and this is in memory of a lost son, right?
Yeah, Lawson, yeah.
Lawson,
Matilda?
Okay. Matilda, maybe. And she died, looks like during the Civil War, 1861, I think. And so again, don't know much about her, but she was certainly beloved of folks to have this type of structure put around. And again, look how long this cedar tree has grown and embarked upon the route of that fence. So lots of things. Dave, are you planning on doing any type of historians meeting or something here?
We've got to have a historical open house. I mean, this is too important not to show. So let's look at scheduling something like that here in the next few weeks.
Okay. How would you get the word out on that? On social media?
I'm going to do social media on all of our websites and social media sites, which, so under Dave, under my own name, Dave Sibray, Sibray, under Randy Burdett, and I can't remember how you have yours done, but we'll get it out there. I mean, if you're, people, I'm sure will be able to find us.
Okay. Well, this is going to be exciting. I appreciate your help today. We've just kind of scratched the surface of this, and we're excited to bring this property to the market, but there's so much for us to find out, and I think we can share such a history. I know Mr. Ziegler over at Old Cook's Mill is doing a brand new article research on Red Sulphur Springs, so I look forward to inviting the Zieglers over to our historical meeting, and of course Jimmy Costa and the group that we can get here. So be watching on social media. Dave will get that information out there. Dave, thank you. Oh, by the way, being that you worked so hard today, I'm going to take you over to the historic Graham House here after a while. They're having their annual chili cook-off, and so we're going to go check that out down at the little community of Lowell over in Summers County.
Let's do it.
All right,
I'll
sounds
see y'all
good.
later. Bye.
Thanks, Dave.